I'm the product of a broken home, multiple times broken home. As a kid, my parents divorced a lot earlier than I can even remember. I don't have a lot of memories of that one, just that I was confused as a kid. But after I was about 6, they got remarried again, my mom and my dad. And for a couple of years, it was good. I had a family, and until they divorced again a second time. And after that second time, there was a lot of anger and confusion. Having my dad around was great, but there's a lot of things I was exposed to through that I wish I hadn't been. There are things that nobody should have seen. My dad was a drug dealer. He was a thief in and out of prison, and I witnessed all those things. He didn't keep them from me. It was right there, and he taught me a way of life that is directly opposed to the way of life I have now. And my home wasn't a Christian home until after that second divorce. My mom and dad were both raised Christian, and if you'd asked us, we would have said we were Christian, but we didn't go to church, we didn't have a body, we didn't have a life that pursued Christ. And after that second divorce and the fallout from it, divorce affects everybody differently, and for me it made me angry. And for my mom, she realized that in me. She saved me. She really did. She turned her life upside down for a very long time to make sure I had a chance at a normal life. We got involved with a church here in Fresno, a home church at the time, and at the time we were living out in Visalia. So my mom moved us up here. She moved all the way to Fresno. She commuted 2 hours a day, just so that I could be around a church of people and have a family again. And if that hadn't happened in my life, it would have been, I'd be very different today. I would have gone down a path of anger and probably followed my dad in drugs and a lot of things that I'm grateful that didn't happen. Then as I started to get to know God through that experience, I never really had a relationship with God. And it became a really colorful relationship. It was, at one point, I was grateful to have a God and a father and somebody that I could finally relate with and who could help me through things. But I also projected a lot of the anger and the confusion that I had from my childhood onto God. And that didn't change until I was an adult. It wasn't until, for various reasons, that church that my mom and I were a part of, it fell apart, and at that point I was alone. All I had was God, and he peeled back the layers of how he had protected me, even while I was angry at him, even while I blamed him and hated him and yelled at him for all the things he allowed me to see and do and how it affected my life. And he showed me how, even in the darkest moments, he was there shielding me from it. Yeah, my life should be a lot different right now. I shouldn't be in a church with people that love me. I shouldn't have an amazing life. I shouldn't have this successful life. But I do. And through all that, I've learned that I have a father now who, he's going to sit there and he's going to love me, and he's going to walk me through why the things happened to me that did and how they can be used to serve him. And that, yeah, it all has a purpose. God's my protector. He's my father now. He's the one that I can run to, that I know no matter what's going on in my life, that I can drop everything, and He's there now, and He's teaching me how to be a husband, how to take that responsibility, and He's teaching me how to guide a family and a household, and yeah, it's an amazing journey.
My name is Lily, and some of you know my story and some of you may not, so here you go. I actually was born and raised in Nepal, a country which is predominantly Hindu and a Buddhist country. My parents were married pretty young, and they had me, and my parents live in a very touristic area. They have a little souvenir shop, and when I was born, since my birth, I had an eye problem on my right eye. And my parents, they tried everything. They took me to eye specialist in town and got medication which didn't help. Since they were Hindus, they prayed to every single gods that they could, and the Buddhist god, and nothing helped. And my dad told me that at that point, having a firstborn who could almost be blind was very depressing for him. He was going through a hard time. And when I was about 3 or 4 months old, my dad told me that he was just holding me one day while he saw a group of foreigners walking in front of his store, and they stopped right in front of my parents' store, and they were looking at the mountains, and my dad saw them and felt like going out there and talking to them and telling them what the name of the mountains were, because they spent all that money to come visit Nepal. So my dad went and talked to them, and one lady noticed my eye, and she asked my dad, "Why is your baby crying?" And my dad was hesitant at first, but finally, because she insisted, he told her that I had an eye problem since birth, and that they have tried everything and nothing has helped. And the lady said that her daughter actually was eye specialist in Nepal, who was a missionary also. And my dad told her that he took me to the best eye specialist that he could ever think of. But nothing helped. They turned to every single god, and nothing had healed my eye by then. And those people asked my dad if my dad believed in God. And my dad, I think, was 19 years old at that time. And he said, "Well, I know that there should be a God, but I'm not sure which one's the real God because we have so many." And the group, they were Americans who were there just for a visit, and they told one of the people, they asked my dad if he had heard of Jesus, and my dad said, "Yeah, I've heard of Jesus." And they told him that, "Well, the God we believe is a living God who can hear us, who can hear our prayers, and can we pray for your daughter?" And my dad was like, "I've tried every other option that's possible. Why not this one?" So my dad invited them to my parents' store, and everybody sat around in circle, and they started praying. And my mom told me that when this older lady was praying, she was weeping and crying, and my mom did not understand why this foreigner is crying for my daughter, because to my mom that was very strange. And after they prayed, they left. My parents closed their shop, and like every morning my mom would have to warm up some water and get a cotton cloth to clean my eye because it would be completely shut. But that day, when she was about to clean my eye, there was absolutely nothing. It had healed, and it was like my left eye, bigger and normal, and there was no tear or water coming out of it. And my mom at that point said she held me and ran to my dad and said her eyes are okay, and she was really excited. And my dad told her, "Do you remember those people last night who prayed for our daughter? They believe in Jesus. That's the living God they were talking about." And at that point, they both got Bibles for each other, and they started reading from Matthew, and by the time they finished John, they were ready to get baptized, and that's where their journey with Jesus started. And even these days, God has been constantly with us through through tough times of our lives, because Joey and I both were part of a church. We're together and we were friends for the longest time. We have been through some rough things and difficult situations, but God has always been there. And even in our everyday life, I recently graduated from nursing school, and I was looking for a job, and I was very afraid because Joey was going to back to school, and financially we were very scared. But God has always been faithful. He always comes through at the right time and shows us that He's always there, and He's always there to be our supporter and be our guide.